Have you ever felt like your children are growing more and more distant? Like your words no longer carry any weight, and they no longer show you the respect they once did? There is nothing more heartbreaking for a parent than realizing that their children, the very same little ones who used to cling to them and call them with sweet, loving words, have now become cold, distant, or even disrespectful. You speak, but they do not listen. You give advice, but they push back. You have sacrificed your whole life for them, only to sometimes be met with careless words and actions that hurt you deeply. Maybe you have tried letting it go, gently reminding them, or even giving even more of yourself in hopes they would understand. But then you realize something hard to accept. The more you step back, the less they take you seriously. The more patient and forgiving you are, the more invisible you seem to become. So where does the real problem lie? Are you slowly losing the authority that comes with being a parent? And how can you earn back your children's respect without turning your home into a battlefield? Do not worry. In today's video, I am going to share with you 6 powerful ways to regain your children's respect. These are not just theoretical ideas. They are real psychological strategies that have been proven to work. They will not only help your children shift their behavior, but also help restore the loving connection within your family. Make sure to watch until the very end, because at the end of the video, I am going to reveal a special secret that will help you do more than just regain their respect. It will actually inspire your children to love and appreciate you more than ever before. Before we get started, go ahead and leave a positive affirmation in the comments below. Something like, "I deserve to be respected and loved," or anything else you truly wish for. This simple act works like a promise to yourself, inviting more good things into your life. And do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on content like this. Now, just as I promised, I am going to reveal the key principles that will help you win back your children's respect in a natural and effective way. 1. Do not argue. Lead through your actions. One of the most common reactions when parents feel disrespected by their children is to argue, explain, or remind them of all the sacrifices they have made. This is a completely natural response. You want your children to understand, to see how hard you have worked, and to appreciate everything you have done. But the truth is, arguing has never been an effective way to regain respect. You could say 100 times that they should respect their parents, but if they have already lost that respect, your words will just go in one ear and out the other. Think about it. Have you ever changed your mind just because someone loudly argued with you? Most of us never change our perspective just because someone tells us to, and neither do children. When you argue, you are actually showing your children that you are seeking their approval, and that only makes them respect you less. If you get angry, raise your voice, or lose your temper, the only thing you are teaching them is that they can control your emotions. So, if arguing does not work, what does? The answer is to lead through your actions. Respect does not come from words. It comes from how you carry yourself, how you react when challenged. Instead of trying to convince your children with words, make them take notice through how you present yourself. A person with true value does not need to ask for respect. They naturally earn it through their presence, their behavior, and their calm confidence. Think about someone you truly respect. Are they easily rattled when faced with opposition? Do they constantly remind people that they deserve to be respected? Or are they calm, self-assured, and steady? Someone whose presence naturally commands attention and admiration. That is exactly who you should aim to be. If your children are dismissive or disrespectful toward you, do not respond with immediate anger. Pause, stay calm, and respond with composure. If they interrupt you, do not rush to argue. Stay quiet, let them finish, then continue speaking with maturity. If they belittle your opinion, do not force them to listen. Speak with firmness and clarity, but without trying to prove yourself. When you stay calm and unshaken in the face of disrespect, you are showing them that you do not need to argue to earn respect, because you deserve it from the start. Remember, a true leader does not need to shout to be heard. They carry themselves with confidence, seek no validation, and stand firm even when challenged. If you become that kind of person, your children will slowly realize you are not someone to be taken lightly. When you stop getting pulled into arguments, when you stop chasing approval, and instead show confidence and self-control, your children will start to see you differently. Respect is not something you demand. It naturally follows when you act like someone who is truly worthy of it. So, if you want your children to listen, stop trying to win every argument. Lead by example. Show them the strength, grace, and dignity of a parent who is confident, calm, and grounded in every situation. When you do that, your children will no longer be able to ignore or dismiss you, because you have become the kind of person they can only look up to. 2. Do not depend on your children. Emotionally, you cannot rely on your children to fill the emotional gaps in your life. When they were younger, they needed your attention and love every day. But as they grow up, their world expands beyond the family, and your relationship with them begins to change. If you become emotionally dependent on your children, expecting them to be your main source of joy or comfort, you will quickly feel hurt and disappointed when they do not meet those expectations. When someone places too much emotional weight on others to feel valued, it creates invisible pressure in the relationship. Even if your children love you, they still have their own lives, work, families, and responsibilities. If every phone call you make comes with guilt, or every visit is filled with complaints about how little time they spend with you, it does not make them love you more. It makes them feel pressured and want to pull away. No one wants to feel emotionally tied down, not even by their parents. Remember, the people who are most respected are not the ones who need constant attention to feel happy. They are the ones who create joy and meaning in their own lives. Instead of spending your days waiting for a call or hoping they will visit, go find things that bring you happiness. Spend time on your hobbies, meet up with friends, get involved in social activities, or even try something completely new. When you have a full, happy life, your children will look at you with admiration, not guilt or obligation. More importantly, understand that true love is born out of freedom, not obligation. When your children know that you are not depending on them for happiness, they will naturally want to spend more time with you. When there is no emotional pressure, the connection becomes more genuine. So instead of holding on too tightly, let your children come to you. And to make that happen, you need to show them that you are still living your life fully, that you are strong, confident, and emotionally whole without needing anyone to fill that space for you. If you find that you are always the one reaching out, always the one texting first, always the one hoping for plans, but rarely receiving the same energy in return, it may be time to stop and rethink your approach. Instead of feeling hurt, use that time to do something meaningful for yourself. When your children see that you are no longer emotionally dependent on them, they will start to take more initiative in the relationship. Not because they are forced to, but because they truly want to be around a parent who is strong, admirable, and living a rich and fulfilling life. 3. Stop chasing your children's approval. One of the biggest mistakes parents often make as their children grow up is trying too hard to please them. You might find yourself always willing to help, always saying yes, even when you really want to say no, or putting your children's needs ahead of your own. You hope that by giving enough, they will appreciate and respect you more. But unfortunately, it often does not work that way. The more you try to please them, the more they may start to take you for granted. When you constantly give in and sacrifice yourself without setting boundaries, your children may begin to see it as something expected, not something to be grateful for. They are not trying to hurt you, but if you do not show respect for yourself, it becomes hard for them to learn how to respect you. Respect does not come from unconditional sacrifice. It comes from self-respect. If you are constantly trying to earn your children's approval, you are putting yourself in a weak position. Instead of gaining their admiration, you risk losing it. This often starts with small things, like always being the one to call, offering help even when it is not asked for, or trying to keep the peace by agreeing with everything they say. At first, it may seem like love and responsibility, but over time, they get used to receiving without feeling the need to give anything back. When they no longer see your support as something meaningful, and only as something you are supposed to do, that is when respect starts to fade. To change this, you need to start with how you treat yourself. Learn to say no when necessary. Not because you do not love your children, but because you understand that love does not mean losing your boundaries. If your child asks for something that goes beyond your limits, have the courage to say no instead of agreeing just to avoid conflict. When you prioritize your own needs, your children will start to see you as an independent person, not someone who is always ready to sacrifice without limits. This also means expressing your opinions clearly. If you disagree with something, do not stay silent just to keep the peace. Speak your mind calmly, maturely, but firmly. Respect comes not from avoiding conflict, but from handling it with principle. Most importantly, stop chasing your children's validation. Do not wait for their thanks or compliments to feel like a good parent. When you stop needing their approval, you will realize that your own confidence and independence are what truly earn their respect. If you constantly need their recognition to feel worthy, you are putting the power over your self-worth into their hands. But when you can stand tall, proud of what you have done, without needing anyone to confirm it, your children will begin to see you in a new light. Remember, if you want your children to respect you, you have to respect yourself first. That does not mean becoming distant or cold. It means setting boundaries, holding on to your values, and not giving up your self-worth just to be liked. When you change the way you see yourself, your children will change the way they see you. And eventually, the respect you once lost will return, not because you asked for it, but because you have truly become someone worthy of it. 4. Set boundaries and stand firm. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some parents seem to naturally earn the respect of their children, while others constantly struggle to be heard or taken seriously? Why do some parents' voices carry weight, while others are ignored, dismissed, or even treated unfairly by their own kids? The answer often lies in something simple but powerful: boundaries. Respect does not magically appear because of titles or age. It is built and maintained through clear, consistent boundaries. If you let your children speak to you with a disrespectful tone, if you let them ignore your thoughts and opinions without any consequence, or if you allow them to treat you poorly while saying nothing in return, then without realizing it, you are silently teaching them that this behavior is acceptable. Over time, they begin to internalize the message that it is okay to treat you that way, because there is no pushback, no correction, no line they are not allowed to cross. You must remember this: people will always treat you according to the standards you set for yourself. If you allow your children to walk over you, if you constantly give in just to avoid conflict, or if you stay quiet to keep the peace, you are unintentionally lowering your value in their eyes. Respect is not the result of blind love or endless sacrifice. It is the result of firm boundaries that you stand behind, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Think for a moment about someone you deeply respect. Is it because they always agreed with everything? Is it because they were easily manipulated or afraid to speak up? Probably not. The people we respect most tend to have strong personal principles. They know what they stand for. They are clear about what they will tolerate and what they will not. And they never allow others to cross those lines without some form of consequence. If you want your children to respect you, then you must start showing up as that kind of person. So how do you actually begin setting these kinds of boundaries? It starts by getting clear with yourself about what is not acceptable. This could include things like being spoken to in a condescending or rude tone, having your advice constantly dismissed, seeing your time and effort ignored, or being treated like a personal assistant rather than a parent. Once you know what your limits are, you need to communicate them in a way that is calm but firm. Do not assume your children will just figure it out. Make it clear, using direct statements like, "I will not continue this conversation if you speak to me that way," or "I am willing to help, but only if you speak with respect and appreciation." The most important step, though, is following through. If you set a boundary but continue to help or tolerate the same behavior, your words lose meaning. Children, especially older ones, will quickly learn what they can get away with. A boundary has no power unless it comes with action. If your child continues to behave disrespectfully, you need to be willing to step back. Stop offering the help they take for granted. Stop jumping in to solve every problem. Show them that every action has consequences, even when it comes from a parent. And do not confuse firmness with anger. You do not need to yell. You do not need to argue. You do not even need to look upset. All you need to do is act. Quiet, calm, consistent action is far more powerful than emotional outbursts. When your children see that you are no longer reacting emotionally, that you are no longer pleading or explaining, but instead calmly standing your ground, they will begin to take you seriously. Your kindness has limits. Your patience has an end. And when your children realize that you respect yourself enough not to allow anyone, even them, to treat you unfairly, they will start to mirror that respect back to you. You are showing them a valuable life lesson, that everyone, even the people closest to us, must learn to honor boundaries. Respect is not something you beg for. It is not something you demand, and it definitely is not something you can force. True respect must be earned, and the most powerful way to earn it is to become someone who respects themselves first. Setting boundaries is not about punishment, it is about self-worth. And standing firm behind those boundaries is the clearest message you can send. I know what I deserve, and I will no longer accept anything less. Mastery 5. Build a life outside of your children. Many parents spend their entire lives raising, caring for, and making sacrifices for their children. So much so that they gradually forget one simple truth. They need a life of their own. When your kids were young, they leaned on you for everything. They needed your guidance, your protection, and your unconditional love. But as they grow up, start families of their own, and get caught up in the busyness of adult life, you may suddenly find yourself on the sidelines, no longer the center of their world as you once were. If you have spent years putting their needs above your own, this transition can feel like a loss. It can feel lonely, painful, and even a bit heartbreaking. But the truth is, this is not a sign that your children are ungrateful. It is simply a natural part of life, a stage that every family goes through. Instead of holding on to resentment or sadness because your children no longer call or visit as often, try to look at it from a different angle. The very fact that they are living their lives independently is proof that you did your job well. You raised them to be strong and self-reliant, to walk on their own 2 feet without having to depend on you for everything. That is not a failure, it is a success. And now, it is your turn to shift your focus inward. It is time for you to rediscover who you are outside the role of being a parent. To reconnect with your passions, your joys, and the things that make you feel alive again. Ask yourself, who were you before your life revolved around raising children? What activities brought you joy? What dreams did you once hold close to your heart, but set aside for the sake of family? Maybe you loved reading for hours, exploring new places, painting, dancing, playing sports, volunteering, or simply sitting in a quiet cafe with a good cup of coffee. You may have pressed pause on all of that to raise your children, but now is the perfect moment to press play again. Try enrolling in a class that excites you. Start a new hobby. Join a local club. Reconnect with old friends. Or spend time doing things that make you feel energized and fulfilled. Even the smallest things can bring back a sense of self that may have been tucked away. Creating a life outside of your children does not mean abandoning them or distancing yourself from your relationship with them. It means becoming a whole independent individual, someone who does not rely entirely on their children to feel happy, valued, or complete. When your children see that you are living a joyful, confident, and vibrant life, they will feel relieved of pressure. They will not feel like spending time with you is another responsibility on their list. Instead, they will want to be around you because your presence brings warmth, positivity, and joy. On the other hand, if you are constantly calling, texting, or trying to make them feel guilty for not spending enough time with you, the relationship will begin to feel heavy. Over time, they might associate your presence with stress or sadness rather than comfort. No one wants to be around someone who always complains, who seems lost or unhappy. But everyone, especially your children, wants to be close to someone who is uplifting, passionate, and full of life. That is the kind of energy that draws people in, not pushes them away. So if you want to rebuild the connection and earn deeper respect from your children, show them that you are not just their parent. Show them that you are also a vibrant person with your own passions, your own dreams, and a life that is full of meaning. When they realize that you are emotionally whole, with or without their attention, they will be drawn to you naturally. And perhaps more importantly, they will begin to see you with fresh eyes, not as someone they owe their time to, but as someone they truly admire. Always remember, respect does not come from emotional dependence. It comes from living with independence, with purpose, and with joy. When you live a meaningful and empowered life, one where you stand on your own 2 feet, your children will not just respect you more, they will be proud of you. And that kind of pride is the foundation for a relationship that is not only strong and lasting, but also filled with love, freedom, and genuine connection. 6. Stop giving without receiving appreciation. Have you ever felt like you have sacrificed so much for your children, only to be met with indifference, carelessness, or even outright disrespect? You pour your time and energy into taking care of them, making sure every meal is ready, every outfit is clean, every expense is covered. But instead of hearing a simple thank you, all you get are more demands, eye rolls, or cold remarks like, "You're supposed to do that," or "Why do you keep bringing it up?" If that sounds familiar, then it is time to stop. Because the more you give without setting boundaries, the less likely your children are to truly appreciate you. Take a moment to reflect. Are you doing too much for your kids? Are you still the one making breakfast even though they are old enough to do it themselves? The one cleaning their room, managing their finances, or even taking responsibility for their mistakes? If so, it should not come as a surprise when they start taking it all for granted. When things come too easily, children stop recognizing the value behind them. They stop seeing your effort as love and sacrifice, and start seeing it as an obligation. And if you continue to do everything for them, they will never learn how to appreciate or respect what you do. It is time for a shift. First, establish clear boundaries. If your child is old enough, let them handle their own responsibilities. You are not their personal assistant. If they refuse to clean their room, let them live in the mess and deal with the consequences. If they do not want to make their own meals, let them experience the inconvenience of not having someone else do it for them. When they are forced to handle things on their own, they begin to understand just how much effort you have put in, and that leads to greater appreciation. Next, stop granting every request when it comes without respect. If your child wants allowance, wants to go shopping, or asks for privileges while treating you with a dismissive or entitled attitude, you have every right to say no. Do not think that loving your child means giving in to every demand. Love does not mean servitude. Be clear and say something like, "I am happy to help, but I cannot continue doing that if you do not respect me. If you are not grateful, I will stop helping." At first, they may get upset or push back, but when they realize that their attitude directly affects what they receive, they will begin to change. One of the biggest mistakes parents make is being afraid their children will get mad or hurt, so they avoid saying no. But remember, every time you give in, you are teaching them that it is okay to demand things without showing respect. Learn to say no without guilt. If they forget their homework, do not rush to remind them or do it for them. If they blow through their allowance in a few days, do not hand them more money. If they forget school supplies, do not race to drop them off. Let them face the consequences of their own actions. Sometimes, the best lessons are the ones life teaches through experience, not words. Also, never forget to show your own value. You're not just a father or a mother. You are a person with your own life, passions, interests, and dreams. Do not let your children think your only role is to serve them. Spend time on yourself. Do the things you love. Go out with friends. Pursue hobbies and passions. When your children see that you have your own life, they will no longer see you as someone who exists only to meet their needs, but as a whole person worthy of respect.